All right, let's talk about the big one, the ACCA's Advanced Audit and Assurance Paper, or AAA. If you're aiming for that CFO spot, you already know this isn't just another exam. It's a gateway. And you know what? It's one of the toughest hurdles for a reason. It forces a total shift in how you think. So today, we're not just going to skim the syllabus. We are building a strategic roadmap to make sure you nail this thing.
Hi, AAA takers. So let's talk about what is advanced audit and assurance really about. First of all, it's not just double A improved. No, it's not just about the accounting. It's not SBR improved. No, it's a whole new concept. Advanced audit and assurance is going to be designed to reflect the real challenges that auditors face, auditors at high level. So if you are a partner and let's say you need to work with the safeguards in order to protect the independence. Or for example, when you are a manager and you need to make sure that the materiality is correct. So on this very level, you are no longer asked to describe audit procedures, list ethical principles. In this very exam, you need to analyze, evaluate, and conclude on the work that has been performed by someone else during the audit. And the situations will quite often be that the information is incomplete and you need to stress it. Or, for example, the management judgment was too aggressive. And again, you need to say that this is a red flag. Or we have evidence, but it's contradictory. What do we do with that? And the time crash is very real. So it's not about memorizing, it's about using the professional judgment. And in this very exam, you will be tested on trickier stuff. When we talked about audit and assurance, we talked about the basic understanding. Let's say, oh, okay, we have inventory. With the inventory, what are we going to check? Oh, let's check completeness, and that's it. In here, we will need to take the real SBR, the real IFRS issues. So, for example, share-based payments, and we would need to make sure that the approach to audit of this very account is going to be okay. Now, AAA would require you to know this audit framework and techniques from audit and assurance. If you had an exemption, well, no worries, it's going to take a bit more time, but you will cover that. And it also builds directly on SBR, Strategic Business Reporting exam. It will require financial reporting, understanding, and judgments. So if you have not taken SBR exam yet, well, please don't sit AAA. Start with SBR. Also, it is strongly advised against taking SBR and AAA within a single session because the two exams are super voluminous. Better take SBR and then come and take AAA the next session. So with this very exam, we will also have to have this strong emphasis on ethics. Yes, we had lots of ethics. We had question 2 that was based on ethics in SBR, but in here, we would need to put that in more practice and align that with our audit work. And not all questions are going to be about the procedures. You will also need to talk about other aspects of audit work. So, for example, using the work of others, quality management, the engagement quality review, and so on. So with this very exam, you need to understand that you will have to study things, the chapters that will look a bit boring. Like, for example, the safeguards, because I know that the majority of you will be more thrilled to learn about the procedures because that is something that you can apply to the real business world, even if you're not planning to become an audit partner. So if you just work in a company, not even in audit, but you want to know the processes, the controls, and so on. Unfortunately, in here, you also need to know all that bureaucratic stuff. With AAA, you would be required to calculate materiality and discuss that audit risk assessment. You would need to talk about the quality of audit evidence. You would need to challenge estimates. You would need to challenge the going concern assumptions. You would need to challenge the use of experts and talk about how to organize group audits. There will be ethical threats, safeguards, audit completion, reporting, and so on. So practice will be the most important, because theory without practice in this very exam is useless. But still, it's going to be a fun journey, and good luck with studying this very exam.
So let's start by looking at the exam's blueprint. To beat the paper, you've got to understand its architecture first. How is it actually built, and where are all those marks distributed?
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty, starting with Section A. Think of this as the heavyweight champion of the exam paper. It's one single, massive, comprehensive case study.
Just let that sink in for a second. This one question is worth 50 marks. That's half of your entire grade, all riding on how you handle one complex scenario. This could be about a single big company, a whole group of them, or even a situation with multiple clients.
To tackle this beast, you have to be smart with your time. The official recommendation is to spend about 1 hour and 45 minutes on it. And that's not just writing time. That includes reading everything carefully, planning your answer, and then writing it all out.
The scenario will almost always drop you right into the planning stage of an audit. Your job is to step into the auditor's shoes. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to evaluate business risks, sniff out those potential misstatements, design some smart audit procedures, and spot any ethical red flags.
And that's exactly why Section A is so demanding. It's not just testing one topic. It's designed to force you to connect the dots from all across the syllabus, planning, risk, ethics, you name it, and apply all that knowledge to one complex situation. All right, deep breath. That's half the exam. Now let's look at where the other 50 marks come from. Welcome to Section B, which is made up of 2 compulsory but shorter scenario questions.
Section B is split right down the middle. 2 questions, each worth 25 marks. Now, they might feel smaller than that monster case study in Section A, but they are absolutely critical for getting you over that 50% pass line. Don't underestimate them.
In terms of your timing, the strategy here is pretty straightforward. You want to budget around 45 minutes for each of these 25-mark questions. If you can stick to that, you'll stay right on track.
Okay, now listen up, because this is a huge strategic tip. The 2 questions in Section B are not the same. One of them is predictable. It will always focus on the final stages of an audit. We're talking completion, review, and reporting. Think going concern or critiquing an auditor's report. But the other question, that one's a complete wild card. It can be pulled from any other part of the syllabus. Topics like forensic audits, due diligence, or quality management.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll size up the challenge and lay out the roadmap. Then we'll dig into what I call the AA shift. It's a crucial change in mindset. After that, we are going to unlock those 20 professional marks that can literally be the difference between passing and failing. We'll get inside the examiner's head, map out your prep work, and finally bring it all together for your path to success. Ready? Let's go. Okay, first things first, the AA challenge. Let's be really clear here. This is not just another technical paper where you can memorize and repeat. It's specifically designed to see if you have what it takes to operate at a senior strategic level. Think of it as a major professional hurdle. And that's exactly why claiming it is so valuable for your career. Which brings us to a really big question. We see so many bright, capable accountants, people who are technically brilliant, trip up on this paper. So why does that happen? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly important. They treat it like it's just a harder version of their previous exams. And that's the trap. Your technical knowledge alone just isn't going to get you across the finish line. And that missing piece, that's what we call the AA shift. This is all about evolving your mindset. You have to go from being a technical accountant who just knows the rules to thinking like a senior auditor who uses critical judgment, who challenges what they're told, and who really understands the commercial reality behind the numbers. It's a huge leap. Let me show you what I mean. Think back to your foundational Audit and Assurance, or AA paper. Back then, you were focused on knowledge. The question was pretty straightforward, right? What is the control? But in AAA, you've got to move way past that to pure application. The question now is, okay, so this massive system just crashed. What's the actual impact on the financial statements? It's a whole different ballgame. And this same shift applies to how AAA builds on your SBR knowledge. AAA just assumes you know all that technical stuff from SBR. But here, you're not just crunching the numbers. Your job is to step back and evaluate whether management's application of those standards is maybe a little biased, or if their forecasts are just way too optimistic given what's happening in the real world. So, what does this all boil down to? I want you to really let this number sink in. 65%. That's how much of this exam is about pure application. And what that means is you get 0 marks, literally 0, for just quoting a definition of a standard. Every single point you make has to be tied directly to the facts of the case study, sitting right in front of you. All right, now let's talk about a real game changer. Back in 2022, ACCA introduced 20 professional marks. Now, these aren't some kind of optional bonus points you can just hope to pick up. No, they are absolutely fundamental to the exam. And honestly, they are often the single biggest reason someone gets a 48 versus a 52. Just take a look here. These 20 marks, that's a full 1/5 of your entire exam score, are split across 4 key skills: analysis and evaluation, professional skepticism, commercial acumen, and communication. You simply cannot pass this exam without getting good at these, so let's break them down one by one. First up, analysis and evaluation. The best way to think about this? You're a financial detective. It's all about taking bits of information from all over the place. The board minutes over here, the financial data over there, that weird email from the CFO, and connecting the dots to figure out how likely a risk is and just how big the damage could be. Next, we have professional skepticism. I like to call this the art of the polite but very firm challenge. It's about questioning what you're told, not just accepting it. So, when management says something like, oh, that new $3 million loan, it's not material, your job is to politely push back and explain exactly why, in this specific situation, it absolutely could be. Third is commercial acumen. This is that business common sense that really separates a top-tier advisor from a number cruncher. It's about looking beyond the spreadsheet. The financials might look okay right now, but what about that aggressive new competitor that just entered the market? How does that affect the client's long-term health? That's thinking with commercial acumen. And finally, we have communication. This one gets tested heavily in question 1, and it's all about clarity and professionalism. Can you structure your answer in the right format, like a briefing note for a partner? Can you make your point clearly and without waffle? It's a skill every single leader needs, and they're testing you on it right here. Okay, so we've covered the mindset and we've covered the skills. But how do we actually apply all this in a way that the examiner is going to reward with marks? Well, let's get some insider intelligence. We're going to look at 5 critical tips pulled directly from the latest official examiner reports. So here they are, the top 5. Number 1, avoid generic waffle at all costs. Number 2, you have to master the active verbs in the requirements. 3, prioritize your risks. Don't just list them out. 4, use the correct format for some easy communication marks. And 5, when you're designing procedures, always state the source and the purpose. Let's dig into a couple of the most important ones. Let's talk about these active verbs, because honestly, this is where so many students just throw away easy marks. These words are your instructions. If the question asks you to evaluate, you must look at pros and cons and come to a conclusion. If you just explain it, you've ignored the instruction and you've lost the marks. It's that simple. And check this out. This is a quote straight from a recent examiner's report. It perfectly backs up that first tip. They are sick and tired of seeing generic responses with speculative risks. The bottom line is this: if you cannot link your point directly to a number, a fact, or a quote from the scenario, just don't write it down. It is a complete waste of your precious time. Okay, so with all that examiner advice in our back pocket, how do we translate it into a smart study strategy? Let's get practical. Let's talk about the real actionable steps you can take to ace your exam prep, starting right now. All right, this is your action plan. First, you absolutely must be practicing on the CBE platform. You need to be comfortable with the software. Second, keep up with the latest technical articles. Examiners get ideas from there. Third, and this is a big one, apply your time budget ruthlessly. And finally, please, I'm begging you, stop trying to memorize definitions. Instead, spend that time reviewing marking guides to see how the marks are actually awarded for applied points. I want you to burn this number into your brain, 1.95. That is the exact number of minutes you have for every single mark in this exam. In AAA, time management isn't just important, it's everything. You have to be incredibly disciplined and be willing to move on, even if your answer isn't perfect. Trust me, finishing the whole paper is often the key difference between passing and failing. So, we've covered the what and the why. We have the strategy down, but now let's touch on the how. How do you actually put all of this into practice, especially when you're under exam pressure? It's about finding the right tools to bridge that gap between knowing what you're supposed to do and actually doing it.
Everything you do in your preparation has to be focused on application. That means living in an interactive question bank, constantly practicing, and watching videos that focus on technique, not just reciting the theory. But the most important piece of the puzzle is finding and fixing your own specific weaknesses.
And look, if there's one silver bullet for improving at this level, it's this: detailed, personal feedback. Having an expert tutor mark your mocks and show you, line by line, this is where your skepticism wasn't strong enough, or you missed a key link here. That is the absolute fastest way to sharpen your exam technique. So there you have it. The roadmap to conquer AAA is right in front of you. The only real question left is, are you ready to make that shift we've been talking about? Are you ready to stop thinking like a student and start thinking like a partner, a leader, a future CFO? The path is clear. Now it's time to get to work.
Okay, so you've just gotten a brilliant introduction to the AAA paper. You know what it takes to succeed. But the real question is, right? What's your next step? How do you actually turn all that great info into a pass?
Well, the good news is your learning doesn't have to stop here. You can actually keep learning directly from Lilia. She and our team have put together a clear path to guide you straight through that exam.
So let's figure this out. Which path is the right one for you? I mean, are you just starting out and need to build that solid foundation? Or maybe you've got the knowledge down, but you really need to sharpen up your exam technique. Or, hey, maybe you're just looking for that final, laser-focused push right before the big day.
Look, whatever your situation is, we've got a solution for it. We've basically broken it down into 3 core paths. You've got mocks to perfect your exam technique, the full course for learning everything from scratch, and a revision pack for that last-minute targeted boost.
So if you're thinking, I know the theory, I just need to get used to the real exam pressure, then our mocks are absolutely perfect for you. You get to practice under timed, realistic conditions on our platform, which is amazing for building both your speed and your confidence. And you can get started for as little as £15. Now, if you're starting from square one or you just want a complete step-by-step guide, this is our most popular option, the full AAA course. Think of it as your A to Z plan. We break down the entire syllabus into easy, bite-sized video lectures that make even the trickiest concepts simple. It's literally everything you need, all in one spot. And finally, what if you just need that high-impact final push? Or maybe you're resitting the paper. That's where the revision pack comes in. It's our best value option, designed for super efficient last-minute prep to get you sharp and totally exam ready.
Listen, we know this is a big investment, not just of money, but of your time, and we want you to feel totally confident. That's why our main packages come with a 7-day money-back guarantee and our pass assurance. We're really in this with you. We want you to succeed. So what's next? It's simple. Just head over to practicetestacademy.com. You can see all the details, compare the packages, and find the one that feels like it was made just for you.
Really, the only question left is, are you ready to pass?